Hello, this is Arthur Nix with EWKS, and today I'm going to go over a fairly complex situation here in HeavyBid. This concerns alternates, but I've added a few twists to this. So what we're going to do is go through and see how HeavyBid can do alternates with various complications. All right, so here I have a sample estimate right here. You can see here I have my header here with a base bid. There's my subtotal base bid. There's my header for my alternate. And then, of course, I have my subtotal for alternate 1 and base bid, alternate bid. And I have two indirects too. You see the indirects are not in the, I guess I could have put the indirects right here for the subtotal, but I have them separately. And what I've done is I actually have them as star codes. But I do have to be careful here because this is the indirect for the base bid. This is the indirect for the alternates. And, and that's one way. This is the thing about alternates for HeavyBid. HeavyBid, the alternates subroutine, was really made to handle where the indirects go, and I'll cover that in a second. Now, for this second indirects, for right now, I have it as 0, but later I will be putting 5% there now because really all the indirects are right here. All right, all the indirects are right there, and if I go back and run the summary again, this is when that totals up. Let's go make sure that is current. That is current right there. And I got 5% for my indirects. Now that would be for both the alternate and the base bid. We're going to do something different. We're going to be spreading back, to this and then to this here. We could even vary it if we wanted to, but for the purposes of checking it, we're going to just leave it as 5%, and I'll come back later and put this in there. So what have I done to set this up? Well, let's first go to Set Up Bid Items. And let's go to the Customize tab. Let's get all of them listed here. And let's go, you can see everything's a direct or indirect. And let's go to the Customize tab. Now the Customize tab, I want to show package alternates right there. So I want to have that checked. Here, I'm going to simplify that. And there is my package alternates. Now here's the thing about package alts in HeavyBid. You cannot turn off the base bid. So you have to kind of do a workaround, which is okay. I have a dummy bid item, okay, which is you can see here, I don't have it labeled because that is truly my base bid to HeavyBid, okay. And then I have my package alt labeled as base, and then alt 1. And then you can see here my indirects base bid, I have base again and alt 1. All right, because I want these to be pointing at the right alternate or your base bid. Remember, you can always change this right here. You can always change this by highlighting, releasing, and change highlighted items. If you don't know that, that works pretty much throughout HeavyBid, and you can just type in whatever you want. Even works in the pricing screen too, so on the status. So I always tell people, hey, try it. If it doesn't work, well, it doesn't work, but most time it will work. So those are my package alternates right there. Let's see how HeavyBid is going to spread those, because in Tools, Preferences, Estimate, Alternates, here's my choices. Indirect bid items and the base bid. Okay, so I really don't, my base bid's a dummy bid item, so this is really not going to apply here. I don't have anything, but right here, look at this, indirect bid items and a package alternate, because both of my indirects are in a package alt, and I'm going to target the bid items will be spread only to that package right there. All right, so this is kind of key right here. That people say, well, I don't use indirects. HeavyBid kind of assumes for this subroutine of alternates that you are using indirects, and I would challenge you to, if you're not using indirects, why aren't you? All right. A lot of people say, well, I put everything in mobilization, and that creates all sorts of issues right there. I would admonish you to, to up your estimating and truly start using indirects. All right. HeavyBid has always had indirects. So I put OK here. And I'm going to close this out. There we go. It's closed out. And what we're going to do, we already ran our summary, and we're going to look at this total right here, 623,641. I'm not going to vary the markup, even though I could vary the markup between my, my two scenarios, base bid and alternate. But I'm going to keep them the same because I want to come back later and see where I am on that 623, 641. And I would encourage you, if you're using alternates, to always be able to kind of back check yourself. Now, I can also, just as an aside, in my spread overrides, if I say, well, what if I don't want to mark up my indirects, let's say, I can do that right here. And I don't, when somebody says, well, I don't want to mark something up, I don't use the pass-through command, okay? That is, back under bid item setup, customize, there's a pass-through. And if you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. But that pass-through is strictly used for pass-throughs, okay? I'm not going to use it to fool HeavyBid and not mark it up. I'm going to do my not markup. If I don't want an item to be marked up, let's say I don't use my base bid indirects to be marked up, I'm going to put that and I'm going to leave it as 0. And there you go. That's going to, and now if I come back to totals, 28,795, put it back on, spread overrides, and I have to come back down here to the bottom, and I have to just backspace that, come back and run my spread, go back to totals, there's the 43.19. All right, so that's just an aside that, again, I'm going to encourage you to, if you don't know what this screen is, I would encourage you to deep dive and use this screen. It's in all 3 versions of HeavyBid. Very key that you know this screen right here for a lot of bidding scenarios. All right, let's go ahead now and get back to our scenarios. Remember, I have a dummy item, base bid. I go to my package alts, and that's the only reason I can do this right here. I can say, okay, I'm going to turn off my alternates, but leave on my base bid, which technically to HeavyBid is an alternate. All right, but in today's, way, I'm tricking this, or I'm doing a workaround and naming that as an alternate so I can turn it off in a minute. And so here I have turned it off, and there is my base bid right there. And I'm sorry, there's my base bid right there. All right. I do have to remember to save these changes. Right now, it's still additive. When I save these changes, I go back to tree view. There they are right there. And that's why I like the alternates. It's a quick way to turn these on and off so that you don't have to do it manually. What would I have to do? I'd have to come into bid item setup. I'd have to drag this down, and then I'd have to change highlighted item. Not a big deal, but it gets old. Well, here I can come in, and it's just a matter of checking the box, save changes, done. All right. Now, let's go now to, we have to run a bid summary again because we have non-add items now. And we go back to tree view. There we go. Now we're going to come back to bid pricing. Now in this situation, I have a mobilization that cannot exceed 8%. All right, so what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to go back to the simple screen so you can see this. And I'm going to go to mobilization. I'm going to click on it. And I'm going to come down here to percent item. All right, that makes it 8%. Now, that takes the 8% of the 647.32. So as soon as I do this, I'm going to have a net positive difference right here that I need. If I want to shoot for my desired bid, I need to come and take out that much money out of, some items. All right. I'm going to show you a quick way to do it. You could do it manually. You could do it by your item total here. And I'm sorry, I can't do it on that one right there. I can do it on the next item total. And I can say, hey, change this amount by, and I can start subtracting out totals right here. Or you could just type in numbers, right? And just watch this number down here. But what I'm going to do today is the closing account routine, which is going to take it out of all the direct bid items here, my base bid, right? Remember my dummy right here. Here, we could even freeze that dummy just so there's no, you can't make the mistake of entering something right here. And I'm going to go to closing account routine. And I am going to close on all of these items, or I can go select certain items. A lot of times I'll do this and just check items, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to go and do this right here. 1483. Okay, that's close enough. And there's this is still, now if I want to check if that's 8%, I come to customize. And then I come here and I have, as part of my customize, I have percent of total, right? So I can do a check right there as a percent of total. Look, I got 8%, I'm good. So what am I going to do now? I'm going to, just as a protection, I don't technically, well, I do have to do it to this one. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to say, okay, percent item again, and I'm going to remove it, puts it as an unbalance, and then I'm going to go to options, freeze, unfreeze multiple items, and freeze everything. All right, so I'm fixed. I'm fixed at the 640, 707.95. That's base bid. All right, now I'm going to come back and do my alternate. So what do? I come back to bid summary. I check this one, and I uncheck that one, save changes. Now I do have to remember to go back to that indirect. I'm not going to do it yet, and then I'm going to go back to tree view. Look how quick that was. And I'm going to come back to here, and now I'm going to make that 5% because that's going to be my indirect for on total cost. And if you don't know what star codes is, that's something that you should get familiar with. Again, star codes. But remember, that is everything that is turned on. I haven't run a summary yet. Let's go back. Let's go do that. Let's go run a bid summary, and you'll see now that's only going to be on the direct items. So that's going to come way down. 66,000, 5%, 3301.05. So that was the reason I didn't put that 5% there. And now I do have it in there. So we've run our bid summary. We're going to go to bid pricing. All right, we're going to go back to the simple screen. And I am now, you can see now this is my, and if I want to, I can look at my subtotals, right? There's my subtotals right there. That's the reason I like this, doing the subtotals. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to need to make this be 8% again. So I come here to percent item, 8%. Where am I? It's not a whole lot of difference here. I'm still just 19 because my cost, let's go look at my cost here. My cost was 58.36 plus 790. So I'm right close to my balanced bid. Just for kicks and giggles, I'm going to go ahead and spread that just like we did before. There we go. Now I'm down to 74 cents. I'm going to take this out. That's a very important thing to do because otherwise, when I turn everything back on, this is going to calculate for total bid. I don't want that. I want that to be 8% of the alternate. Percent item. Remove. And now what I'm going to do is go to options, freeze, unfreeze, and freeze everything. There you go. All right, now here's the big test. I come back to, bid summary. Now I'm going to turn everything on, right? I need to save that. Now I need to go back to tree view. Technically, I need to, just to check my totals, I need to come back, because remember, this is going to be getting 5% of the total. I'm going to make that 0 again. I could have non-added it too. And I go back to bid summary, go back to the main screen, and let's see where I am. Let's see how close I am. All right, 723, 641. That's exactly what I had before. That's the balance bid. Okay. Nothing's changed there. Let's see where I am. Oh, 723, 733. So I'm not off a whole lot. I'm off 90 bucks. So the reason I wanted to show that, I could have been off a lot more. You can unbalance it. But I wanted to show you that, hey, I got a way to check here. I got a way to justify, okay, what's the difference here? And I know I'm good. So what do I do at this point? I'm done. I might come back and delete the dummy item bid if I'm like uploading to, uploading to Astroware or something like that, or just non-add it. But I'm basically done, and I've accomplished what I wanted to do. I got 8% mobilizations on the base bid, 8% on the alternate. Now, I can't go back and do a check like before because it will not be 8%. It's going to be a different percentage. So I basically have to come to subtotals, and there is my bid total right there, and then just do the math just to make sure that I still have 8%, but I know I do, right? Nothing has changed. And but this will not be accurate anymore because that's doing 8% of the total bid. The heavy bid cannot just take a section and say, okay, this is the max here. So I did what I wanted to accomplish. I got base bid, I got an alternate, I even mixed in a star code, and I have spread this back and got very close to my balanced bid. All right, well, this is Arthur Nix again with EWKS. My encouragement would be a couple of things. Learn bid summary. Learn add-ons, bond, spread overrides. Everybody has that, and package alternates. The advanced versions and the comprehensive versions have all of these. So learn these functions and what they do, and be careful. Like I said, I always like to do a manual check at the end of the day and say, okay, can I get back to this number that I'm showing here? All right, well, this is Arthur Nix with EWKS. If you got any questions, shoot me comments and dig in.